Hello everyone, and welcome to DnD Horror Stories with DnD Doge. What happens when you get a female player that ups the dial on horny roleplay that doesn't get her way, and a dungeon master that simps for said player? Well, we're about to find out. To the story. Player goes psycho when turned down in-game. By Reddit user, Acute Aggression. I should probably start by saying that I'm a bisexual man, and so is my partner. This will be important. We've both been playing D&D and Pathfinder for years, and even met each other in a campaign ages ago. And we figured we'd find a new group, since our original party and the DM kinda drifted apart, and had their own lives pull them away from the table. Rest in peace to our little band of misfits. Love you guys. Names are clearly altered for obvious reasons. I, playing the barbarian, will refer to myself in the first person. My partner, playing the bard, will be referred to as Caleb. Our friend, the rogue, is Tiff. Another existing guy in the party, a warlock, will be Locke. And the problem player, a cleric, will be PP. Look, I know it stands for problem player, but I'm way too immature to say that when PP comes up. DM is just DM. We found a new group through a friend of ours, Tiff. She said she knew these guys well, and we've been wanting to play with her too. But she was in the middle of a campaign and had limited time due to college and studying, and thus couldn't start a new one. This was a new campaign her DM started, and since a few people dipped, they had room for us, and a friend of the DM joined as well, the PP. We arrived at the session with our character sheets, and were informed that there was room for homebrewed backstories. So I was playing a dragonborn barbarian, who was once a mighty red dragon, whose power and form was taken in a messed up magical deal to find the adventurers who slew his mate and stole her eggs, now forced to live a regular life among those he would have once eaten. The DM, while stating it's rather out of character for a prideful red dragon and doesn't make a ton of sense, stated that it was fine, as long as it didn't affect gameplay. I've never rolled a homebrew backstory or dragonborn before, so my bad. I don't know. I think that sounds like an interesting backstory. Caleb rolled a human bard who was once a drummer boy for morale during wartime, and despite his flirty, carefree, kind nature, had scars left over from the war and seeks to inspire people in hard times with the same drum he played for the soldiers. Tiff played a foul-mouthed and arrogant human rogue with a sailor-smuggler background and had greed to match a red dragon. Locke rolled a formerly terminally ill half-elf warlock who struck a deal with his patron devil for immortality for as long as he plays to their tune. And our PP. It never gets old. I'm such a child. Who showed up 45 minutes late and chose to roll a cleric priestess of Saloon, and was also a succubus. No backstory or anything. Why a fiend would want to be a priestess of Saloon is beyond me, and I've read enough of these stories to know the type. But I also like to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm a pissed off, aggressive brooding dragonborn, so I can't judge. And besides, it was homebrew. The DM knew about this, and even homebrewed her racials and everything, which was insane. She had a plus 12 modifier to charisma checks and saving throws. 12, as a racial. I figured, whatever, I'm here for fun. The campaign is rather straightforward, but reminded me of an Elder Scrolls intro. We were prisoners of some crime by all being in the wrong place at the wrong time. We all introduced ourselves in prison. My character and Tiff's were immediately at each other's throats, since they both reek of arrogance and pride. Caleb mediates it and keeps our cool, making light jokes and keeping our spirits up. Locke is brooding and fearing that he'll be executed right after his deal, adding a bit of humor to the moment, and PP is silently praying to her goddess in the corner. Excuse me. The usual setup. Our party apparently gets released on the condition that they stop a vengeful wizard turned necromancer from raising an army of undead and attacking the town. Think fantasy Suicide Squad. Not one session in, and PP is already rolling checks on seducing everyone for information, discounts, and free handouts. PP is looking for handouts. I'm sorry, I'll stop now. This normally would not be an issue, just playing your character, but she insists on being extremely graphic with her flirtations, describing the sizes of bulges and how quote-unquote twitchy they are, how she'd slide her hand down their pants and quote-unquote touch base, how not dry she is, etc., etc. Something tells me that she probably writes dirty fanfiction. I'm normally fine with something getting saucy before fading to black, but she stretches it, no pun intended. The DM even encourages her to go on and enjoys the roleplay. I'm sure he does. But at some point, Caleb speaks up and asks for the scenes to fade to black, since it's a bit awkward and takes up time. I can see PP's eyes rolling in her head, but the DM goes along with it. On our first long rest in camp, PP attempts to seduce my Dragonborn. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Feeling up on his muscles and snout, complimenting his horns, trailing her hand down to his crotch. My character genuinely just isn't interested in what he deems as desperation. Not that there's anything wrong with showing interest, but let's face it, my Dragonborn is still autopiloting his true nature and is still sour about his mate, so I make it clear that he's not interested. Me. Sorry, as a player, I'll tell you that he's not even remotely interested. He honestly doesn't trust anyone right now, and he's dealing with the loss of his mate. PP. Okay, I'll cast my racial charm person. DM. Okay, OP, roll a wisdom saving throw. Tiff. Well, hold on. That's not really fair. If he were an NPC, I'd get that, but this takes away agency from OP. DM. It's really not a big deal. If they end up screwing, we can fade to black. I can see PP cringe at the idea of not getting some quote-unquote bad dragon action described in great detail. Caleb. No offense, man, but we aren't comfortable with this. Tiff. We're not trying to tell you how to DM, but you have to understand agency, right? Locke is just kind of quiet during this time, but we learned that he just didn't want to get in the middle of things. The DM relented and made a new rule that you can't charm or otherwise take player agency away from each other without permission. This had red flags all over it, but I've dealt with worse. Well, at least the DM decided to do the right thing and put that rule in place, though part of me thinks he mainly did this so that PP would start hitting on NPCs more. That way, he could roleplay that stuff with her instead. Plenty of sessions go on, and PP is simply relentless with trying to get close to my barbarian, almost to the point of her making it her sole goal in the campaign. Though at least the NPCs get some respite. My partner is a champ on keeping his head, as he understands it's only D&D. We just try to make a running joke out of it, much to PP's silent irritation. I think they make a cream for that. Meanwhile, my barbarian had began opening up more to his party, Caleb's bard in particular. Tiff, out of character, shipped them anyway, even though we're not a fan of real life influencing roleplay. His bard's constant support and understanding of loss touched something inside of my dragon. These interactions often got a look from PP, but surprisingly, she gave nothing but further seduction attempts. At some point, they find the lair of the necromancer, but we need to find a powerful sorcerer in town to help us take down a barrier. That night, in camp, my dragonborn confessed to the bard of his desires for him, and asks to share his tent. PP looks visibly disgusted, and Tiff gives me a LOL WTF look concerning PP's moving. Caleb's bard responds with kissing my barbarian, who proceeds to pick him up by the collar of his blouse and comically drags him into his tent, followed by a fade to black. DM looks rather uncomfortable and asks Locke what he wants to do. At this point, we all know why PP's moping. Locke offers to make a move on PP's cleric, but she immediately turns him down with a scoff and sleeps out in the woods. Locke just shrugs and drinks at the campfire with Tiff's rogue, and after the session, PP shows more of her ass. PP: OP, why didn't you tell us your character's gay? I wouldn't have wasted my time. Maybe next time don't lead people on. Lead her on? From what I've read, OP only showed disinterest and contempt at her attempts. My partner visibly looks irritated. Caleb: seriously? Come on. You don't have to list your character's preference when you make a character. It's not a big deal. PP: yes it is. He knew I was flirting with him. He could have just told my cleric he's gay. Me: okay, first of all, he's bi. It doesn't matter what you've got, as long as he genuinely likes you. It's just a game. It's not worth getting mad about. DM: to be fair, you could have told her out of character. It's kinda effed up to let her keep trying. OP straight up told her that his character would not be interested in the first session. Tiff: bro, he told her at the start. PP: not that he's gay. Tiff: oh my god, he said bye. Bye. Maybe he's just not into your succubus. DM: look, let's just call it for tonight and pick it back up next week. We all go home feeling sour. Tiff is blowing up my phone, complaining about PP, complaining about the DM, and how PP made Locke feel uncomfortable. Overall, it was a terrible session. It all comes to a close on the following session. Before we begin, DM pulls me aside and asks me to apologize to PP for making her feel ugly and led on. I look at him confused. DM: look, I need you to apologize to PP. She feels terrible and lied to over you turning her down and not telling her your dragon was gay. I don't want any problems. It'll just be easy. This is how we work things out in my campaigns. I internally facepalm at the word gay before shaking my head. Me: look man, I didn't do anything. I'd rather just move on. I'm already uncomfortable with this campaign as it is, with her constant mood swings. DM: well, we're uncomfortable with the gay stuff, but we put up with it. Just never mind. But don't cause trouble, alright? How the heck was OP causing trouble? She was the one acting up. Seems like the DM is starting to kinda simp for PP, which I now realize is a funny sentence. I can't even respond to this. I'm beyond pissed. Caleb checks in on me, but I play it off. I just want to try and steer this sinking ship and hopefully hit shore before we drown. The session goes as you would expect. PP's brooding, with Locke awkwardly following the vibe. Tiff and Caleb are on edge, and I myself am feeling a mix of things. We eventually get back to town and stay the night at the inn after finding the sorcerer who would help us, the DMPC. Locke finds a charming tiefling bard who's deeply interested and heads to a room upstairs with her to fade to black and retire for the evening. PP is staring daggers at me at this point, as if daring me to take Caleb's bard upstairs. I'm tired at this point. And this is where I get into a am I the a-hole moment. I smile at Caleb and Tiff. Me, my barbarian, his hand around Caleb's waist, whispers to him. I show a note to Caleb, who knowingly smirks and nods. Me, I then turn to Tiff and ask her if she would join Caleb and I upstairs for the night. Tiff snickers and immediately responds. Tiff, oh hells yeah, gonna make a bridge. Well, there's an image. I then explain that the three of us go up to have a wild devil's threesome. PP loses her shit. PP, what the F, dude? You turned me down, but then you jump up her ass? This is BS, man. You're doing this on purpose. DM, that's effed up, man. I'm not letting that happen. Well, that is a bit hypocritical. The DM let PP have all those lewd descriptions, and even had Locke hook up with a tiefling. It sounds like he's only not allowing that because he's simping for PP. I immediately grab my stuff, get up, and leave. No insults, no responses. Caleb follows, and Tiff shortly after. Locke later texts Tiff that he's looking for a new group now. The three of us drink at my apartment, and I laugh how absurd it was. Tiff said she would talk to the DM, but we explained that we weren't coming back. She understood and said that she would find a new group too, but was sad that a friend of hers was probably a simp for a psycho. In the aftermath, we don't know what happened with the DM and PP. We never ask. But me, Caleb, Locke, and Tiff found a new, healthy group to join. Locke drifted apart after some time, but I wish him so much happiness. Caleb and I are now a year into our marriage, and Tiff is trying out DMing herself. TLDR, player wants to jump my character and gets butthurt when I won't, thus causing drama, and the DM simps for her. Yeah, it certainly sounds like the dungeon master of that game gave special treatment to PP. And was likely simping for her, thus DM saying that her actions were OP's fault. Now, was OP being a bit of an a-hole for doing the whole threesome thing? I'd say maybe a little bit, as it seems like it was done with the intent of making PP angry. I can't stop. But in the end, it showed the DM's true colors, and preferential treatment for PP. I'm sorry. It's the last time, I promise. Though, at least OP and the rest of the group were eventually able to find a better group without a hypersexual character trying to hump anything that moved. Ooh, that was a tough one. But now, before we move on, I would like to give a special thanks to Charm Quark for donating $5 via Ko-Fi and saying, quote, "Thanks for always helping me through my chores with your videos." And to that, I have to say, it's my pleasure. And thank you again for your generosity. I'll make sure it goes to getting the kitties more treats. They deserve all the treats. But with that, let's move on to a story about what happens when a dungeon master doesn't help out a new player when making their sheet. To the story. When dumping con is considered power gaming, by Reddit user Phaeophis. One of my DM's good friends joined a campaign as a complete newbie to D&D 5th edition. She decided to play a druid. The DM in her game helped her set up stats and some of her abilities, but not many, and not well. She was struggling to have any fun in sessions, as she ended up taking a dirt nap every time they entered combat, and felt she was pretty useless in the party. She joined our gaming group for a little bit to get some help with her sheet, and ideas on how to be more useful and have some more fun. We all took a look at her sheet, and offered suggestions. Things that immediately stood out. Constitution as a dump stat, an 8, and Intelligence as the highest stat, a 16. We later learned that she started with a constitution of 6 and later took an ASI just to get it to 8. There was no level listed, and there was great confusion as to which level she was. The DM had not disclosed it to her, ever. She had to badger her DM via text to get that, so we could better understand things and help her with a more accurate sheet. Level 9 is what he finally said the party was at, but also wanted to know why she thought that was important information. No ranged weapons, only scimitars and daggers for fighting in melee. Was missing over half her class features, including Wild Shape and most of her spells. She had no stat blocks for Wild Shape and wasn't aware that it was an option. This was partially on her for struggling with the player's handbook, but we were a little incensed that her DM couldn't be bothered to help a newbie out with something so glaringly missing. As we were reviewing and giving her feedback, she and our DM were texting the DM of her campaign for more information to help us interpret and fix her sheet. In response to the question, "Why does she only have 8 con?" the DM replied with, "LOL, power gamers." And then, "As long as you're in a fun campaign, it doesn't matter." Except it wasn't a fun game, in large part because of the Constitution dump consequences and putting a fragile character in melee while missing most of their class and subclass features. Of course, if you want to dump con and enjoy that as a challenge, go for it. But what DM considers that a fun option for a newbie, and also considers it power gaming to not dump con? Anyway, we invited her to our group and helped her make a better character that she had much more fun playing in our game. Yeah, that is a bit ridiculous. Like OP said, sure, it was a bit on OP's friend for not looking more at the player's handbook when building her character. But as a new player, the DM of that game should have noticed how she kept falling during battle and not using her abilities. And after noticing, he should have helped her go over her sheet to fix things so that she could have more fun during the battles. But at least in the end, she ended up joining OP's group and is having much more fun now. But with that, let's move on to a tale where a busy parent tries to fit some D&D into their life, but with unusual results. To the post. Dungeon Master ruined game before I even joined. By Reddit user, a random dragon 920. I had a busy life after having kids, and decided to play D&D. After making a looking for game post, someone messaged me on Discord and told me about a game they were running and gave me the recap. Goblins were attacking a village, and the players killed one. It started resurrecting, so they put an advanced AI drone inside it and took it over. A naked blind giant hag came over and offered to pick up one of the players. They got in her arms and sucked on one of her breasts to gain health. Immediately turned off by that, I stopped responding and proceeded to not play D&D for another year. In this next story, we have a player whose character's arc is finished, just without the player. To the post. Dungeon Master wrapped up my character's arc without me. By Reddit user, Icefall04. I made this Reddit account mainly to post this story. I'm not gonna lie. I'm on mobile, so please forgive any formatting issues. Anyways, so this is my first campaign ever. It's been going for a little over a year now, and I've been to every single session. The group consists of 5 players, plus the Dungeon Master. One of the other players is terrible about metagaming and main character syndrome, but that's a story for another day. We meet every other week, and my character is a ranger. It's maybe a little cliche, but like I said, this is my first campaign. So, when I made him, his character motivation was that his wife had been murdered, and he was searching for her murderers. Throughout the campaign, I have done my best to stay engaged and to keep looking for my hints to the murderers. The campaign is a homebrew one, and the Dungeon Master said we would all get story arcs if we wanted them. I very clearly wanted one. I had quite a few hints and plot points, and I knew that it was probably coming up for me to finally get the confrontation or closure that my character has been chasing. A month or so ago, I let my DM know that I and my boyfriend, who also plays in this campaign, wouldn't be at the next session. I was going somewhere, so I couldn't be at the session. I gave my Dungeon Master 2 weeks' notice, thinking that that was plenty of time. Again, it's homebrew, so there's been plenty of flexibility for the players if they can't make it, and the party was also split up at the time. My character and my boyfriend's weren't even with everyone else's at the time, so I figured we'd be fine to miss one session. Fast forward to our most recent session, just over a week ago from the time of writing this post. I'm excited for the session, and really looking forward to it. I show up, get settled, and the session begins. Another player speaks up and says, "Guess what? We found the guy that killed your wife. We found out why he killed her, and we brought him here for you." And then, the rest of the party brings my character an unconscious, drugged, and poisoned man, and I'm told that I can kill him, with quote, "You can resolve your character's arc." And I'm sitting there, staring blankly at my Dungeon Master, because this was everything I've been looking forward to for my character, everything I've been waiting for over a year. And instead of my character finding his answers, instead of my character having a confrontation, I'm instead just being given an unconscious man for a character that has always, very clearly, never fought someone who couldn't fight back. So I, in an attempt to reclaim any agency or control over my character, have him verbally say that he won't do it, and walk away. But then, immediately, 2 of the other players just kill the unconscious man. So I don't even get, "Oh, he woke up, and you can confront him." I'm just left with nothing. After the session, I talked to my Dungeon Master. I told them, "Hey, it's really disappointing and frustrating that you wrapped up my character arc without me." And they responded with, "Well, you missed the session. What do you want me to do?" Like, I don't know, man. Anything but what you actually did. I've been mad about it since the session, and honestly, I think the anger is justified. I thought my expectation of, "Oh, my Dungeon Master wouldn't wrap up my character arc without me, because that's a crappy way to DM," was reasonable and could go unspoken. Though, apparently not. Well, yeah. You would think that a good DM would want the player of a character whose storyline that is about to be wrapped up to be at the game. I mean, as it sounded, this Dungeon Master had ample opportunity to do something else for the one session that OP was not able to make. And it's not like he didn't have forewarning, as OP gave him a full 2 weeks heads up about missing the session. I would be pissed off too. And I would think twice before joining any other games that this dude runs. Though, hopefully, the DM realizes how messed up it was to do this to OP, and does some sort of retcon or something. But that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and hope that your games remain horror story free. Until next time.